That he looks like an ultrasound.
He does look like an ultrasound.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you. Can't see you, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm driving up to Boston College to drop off a pie.
Ah.
All right. Well, we know you're here with us, Mike. So it is 7 o'clock. I think we're going to get underway. I'm going to call to order an emergency meeting of the East Greenwich Town Council dated November 25th, 2020. I'm going to have us say the pledge. I'll introduce the panelists, and then we will discuss the procedure for enacting an emergency meeting. So please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening to our panelists and to members of the public. Let me just fix my camera here. I do want to introduce our panelists tonight. We have our town manager, Andrew Nada, from Information Technology. Helping us run the meeting tonight is Wendy Schmidl. Our town solicitor, Andy Tights, is here. And from the town council, we have Karen Corenthal, Councilor Corenthal, Councilor Michael Donegan,
Hello.
Councilor Mike Zarella. I'm Councilor Mark Schwager, and Rainu Engelhardt is unable to attend this evening. So I'm calling this meeting as an emergency meeting pursuant to Title 42, Chapter 46, Section 6, subsection C of the Rhode Island General Laws. Under this statute, a vote by the majority of the council is required to certify that this emergency meeting is necessary to address an unexpected occurrence that requires immediate action. The town council today was informed that there was a coronavirus outbreak in the East Greenwich Fire Department. A total of 23 of our town firefighters are out of work due to infection. East Greenwich is a small town, and many in our community know our firefighters on a first-name basis. And I want our firefighters to know that they have the support and the good wishes of our community, and we wish them a speedy recovery. One of the key priorities of the town council and the town staff is to ensure the health and safety of our community. Obviously, when 23 firefighters are out of action, this is going to have a significant impact on our first responder staffing for fire and rescue services, potential to impact public safety. But what I'd like to do is ask for a motion to hold an emergency meeting of the town councils as it is necessary to address an unexpected outbreak of COVID-19 among East Greenwich firefighters, and immediate action is necessary to ensure public safety is protected. Under this statute, discussion and action during our meeting must be limited to this.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilor Donegan, seconded by Karen Corenthal. We'll call the roll. Councilor Donegan.
Aye.
Councilor Corenthal.
Aye.
Councilor Zarella.
Aye.
Councilor Schwager votes aye. So at this point, what I'd like to do is to introduce our town manager to basically fill us in on what's been happening over a busy 24 hours, where the situation is now, and what actions we have taken and what potential actions we may need to take to address the events and to ensure public safety related to our fire and rescue services. Nada.
Great, thank you, Dr. Schwager, members of the council. I've asked, and of course have with us our fire chief, Chief Patno, who will work with me as we work through this update for the council and the community as to where we stand today in terms of fire department operations. I'm going to do just an introduction and provide some context to where we are. I think it's important for maybe those that are following in the community who may not have context and haven't been following this matter as closely, as it's all evolving on a very, very, very fast pace. So the last 24 hours really have amounted to an incredibly long day for the chief and the entire fire department. As the council is aware, as was reported in the local media late last week, the department recognized 3 positive COVID cases late last week. So stemming from that initial introduction of COVID into the department, widespread and routine, the department has been routinely tested consistently, but right after that series of positive tests, they engaged in another round of testing through the department's rank and file. So, as has and continues to be the practice, and I think I heard it mentioned today in various media sources, the department continues to practice all the reasonable protective measures as one would assume are in place within the department, members exercising reasonable precautions in terms of their interactions, not only amongst themselves, with their colleagues, with residents, and of course their family members. Prompted from those 3 tests, the results from the secondary round came in late last night. I will say that as a large number of the department members, through my communications with the chief, had remained asymptomatic, I think at the time the testing was conducted, there was not any presumption that there would be a significant number of positive tests resulting from that secondary round. When the results started to come in, I think the contrary was found, where a significant number of those tests, not all, but a significant number, were coming in positive. And I have to believe that probably everybody seeing those results come in were probably in shock at the moment based on the rate of the positive results that we were seeing. So the final count, I'm going to give some context on numbers so that people understand, just for context purposes. So the information that I have, we have 21 members of the department. We have 20 firefighters in the field, supervisors and firefighters that have tested positive. We have 1 administrative employee who's positive. So let me give me some context as to what that number means. So for general context, and staffing in the department, as in every department, is always in flux. It's always changing. People are coming and going. People are out sick. People are on IOD. They're back and they're forth. So that number is always changing based on active firefighters and active employees within the department, which is a normal occurrence in all departments. So if the department was fully staffed at this moment, all employees, you'd have 39. You'd have 4 shifts, 9 members per shift, 36 active firefighters and supervisory various ranks within the department, and you'd have 3 administrative employees: the chief's clerk, fire marshal, and the chief himself. So at this moment, we're not at that number. We have 1 employee, soon to be employee, who is a probationary, not yet probationary, a recruit that will be going to the academy in February. We have 2 probationary firefighters who are in training right now. 1 of those ended up positive through various contacts. We have 9 individuals approximately that are either out sick for various normal reasons, or on IOD, injured on duty status. And then you have your fire marshal, which has had a negative test, and the fire chief, which had a negative test, which leaves you the excess of about 25 firefighters beyond that number. If you include the 3, then you'd be at 28. So where we are today is we're at 8. We have 8 firefighters that are eligible to be in the field, are healthy, have had negative tests. Of the 8, we still have 1 test that we don't have the result for. So that number may change, it may not change. So with 8, we started the day, according to the chief, with both stations staffed pretty much at bare bone minimum manning, with two members in a truck at station 1 and 2, and 2 members in a rescue at station 1 and 2. So clearly, that's not going to cover us on a 24/7 basis for the next several weeks. So clearly, things change in a matter like this, in a crisis within a crisis. Things change moment by moment, and I've received the call from the chief early this morning Actually, he tried to get me late last night. We finally connected early this morning, met him at Station 1, and we really debriefed and went through all of the mechanics and the nuances associated with the logistics of providing sufficient public safety, fire, and EMS support through the community. Based on the number of 8, not including the fire marshal and the chief, those numbers just don't work. And it's not possible to make that happen. So what occurred from that moment forward, and which had started even before I arrived to meet with the chief, was that, and I'm going to transition to the chief in a moment, is really comprehensive communications with our mutual aid partners, which really vary based on the challenge that we're facing. Our immediate mutual aid partners that we do business with on a daily basis are the town of North Kingstown and the city of Warwick, as well as others, that border our perimeter. The communications with the mutual aid partners also extend beyond that. In a matter like this, when you're dealing with the Department of Health and a series of testing and first responders, so there was communications with the Department of Health as well as with REMA, Rhode Island Emergency Management, and the various contacts that both the chief and that I have through those agencies as we look for support. The council might remember when we first started preparing for COVID back in February or March, early on, we had also formulated a kind of an ad hoc group of Southern Rhode Island communities, our own separate EMA communication channel where we had started to communicate on matters just like this. It's those what if scenarios that nobody ever wants to have to deal with or prepare for, but you need to have the conversation. So I'm pleased that we had those initial conversations. Although after we had the first spike in cases, things really, I think everyone settled into a groove. And although they've been increasing recently, I think they've been managed well by departments across the state, fire departments, and EMS, police, and others. And I think we felt we had a handle on it just up until recently. So this morning, the chief, as well as I, reached through all our contacts and made sure that kind of a web of support was aware of our situation. They enlightened us on some of their own challenges that they were under. And we would be having that same conversation, whether or not we were providing them with added support or they were in a position to provide us with support. So the chief will comment on that a little bit more. What I would say is that as the day progressed, it became clear that one of our key mutual aid partners in the town of North Kingstown, facing its own challenges, was the best partner for us in the immediacy of our needs in the community. So the chief had several conversations and coordination discussions with Chief Cattell at North Kingstown. I had the same with town manager Ralph Mollis. And after I think a very short period of time, the two communities were able to put together a plan that we thought, which the chief will elaborate on, which we thought would be in the best interest of both communities and allow us to safely continue to provide high quality public safety services to our residents in both communities the holiday season, and really up until a point in time that we both are comfortable that we can go back to a more routine scheduling in each community. And each community is prepared to provide that level of support to each other to get us through this crisis. So there are a couple of other, and I think the chief Patno and I would say that we couldn't have found a better working team between Chief Cattell and Manager Mollis and the chief and myself, who I think really brought it together fairly quickly. I think we understand, being Rhode Islanders, I think we understand the lay of the land. We have decent contacts and a network that's built. And I think that those relationships, those long-term relationships, played an important role in bringing it together in a fairly short timeline. So there are a couple of other comments and things that I might add to the conversation, but I think it's important that we maybe get right to some of the details that I think the council and the community would like to hear. So I'm going to turn it over to the chief for him to give us really an immediate update as to the department, as to its members, how everybody's doing, and then drill into a little bit more detail regarding this initiative that we have planned with the town of North Kingstown to address both of our immediate needs. Chief?
Good evening. Thank you for laying that out for us. About 2 weeks ago, North Kingston Station 3 on School Street had a flooding incident, and they had to vacate that premises. They were packed in stations further down towards Quonset and headquarters, and East Greenwich was covering that north section of their town for them in addition to their apparatus. When we found out we had this COVID problem, we reached out to Chief Cattell, and we came up, between the two of us, we came up with a idea that kind of helps both of our towns. We proposed to take the engine and rescue that were moved out of School Street and put them into our Station 2. That way they will cover East Greenwich, Frenchtown area, and their School Street area. They've actually shortened their district in North Kingston so that they only go there second to, and it works out best for both of us. This allows them social distancing and a facility to work out of for the next few weeks. And it also allows us to take our 8-person that we have non-COVID right now, and we can staff our engine and rescue down here. So the actual apparatus that is manned has not changed for the town, and they are working for North Kingston, so it's not costing us overtime, and it's a good process for both of us.
Chief, can you provide an update for the council on your knowledge of the status of our members, how everybody's doing, any expectations or information you might have regarding a timeline or potential reintroduction back into the workforce through a potential series of testing that would be upcoming in the next couple of weeks?
Yes. We plan on the negative tests were all done on Monday. So non-symptomatic cases were about 50-50 symptomatic and non-symptomatic. Non-symptomatic cases after 10 days can retest, and then 10 days without symptoms can retest. If we get negative testing, we can bring them back in. So we're looking at a week from today, next Wednesday, to retest the negatives, and hopefully we can start bringing people back at that point.
So, Mark, in this conversation, and we've talked about it recently in terms of the whole concept of consolidated services, shared services, joint efforts, initiatives, whatever it might be. And we've talked about that in terms of a multitude of different types of municipal services. And I'd have to say that there's probably no better example of, I think, it doesn't have to be neighboring communities, but in this particular case where we've been able to utilize existing resources in fairly close proximity to each other across community lines, that in a very reasonable, cost-neutral way, and whether or not it's cost-neutral or not, I think the council understands that these are actions that had to happen, and we would address the costs one way or another, no matter whether or not there was a cost associated with them. And I think because the relationship exists, and because it's a two-way street, and we understand the needs in each town, and we understand that this type of support will go in the other direction at some point in the future, and as long as we all recognize that and are comfortable with it, that's how these things work on a daily and weekly basis, unbeknownst to most residents. So there are support networks and systems in place the town of North Kingstown and East Greenwich can take advantage of in this case, but communities around the state and beyond have the ability. And Rhode Island, due to its proximity, close proximity, we're in such an enviable position to be able to move resources around in a very efficient way versus some of the larger states that we have. So, you know, I'm going to conclude, and we'll definitely push it back to the council. I'm sure you have a number of questions, but you know, I would like to say that you know, we also stand prepared. We thank the 8 employees of ours who are going to do and perform some significant duty, and they have been thrust. They didn't sign up for this. They've been thrust into this. This is again a crisis within a crisis, and over a holiday period that we as their fellow professional staff in the community, I'm sure greatly appreciate their willingness to toe the line for their fellow firefighters. In addition to that, we also would like to recognize those that have tested positive and wish them only the best, them and their families, for a speedy recovery. And we'll be there to support them as well through this until we get everybody back in uniform and back on the front line. So I'd like to pause there. The chief is available and I to answer any additional questions the council may have. Mark?
Thank you, Andy. I'll send it back to the counselor, Counselor Donegan. I see your hand is up.
Andy, thank you. Chief, thank you. You know, I think the ability to respond instantly with partnership in nearby communities is really, honestly, you alluded to it, Andy, but it's because of the work that that you, and in this instance, the chief, have done in advance of the crisis to prepare for it. This is one of the items we had to be ready for. You were ready, and fortunately, our partners have responded. And you were right, whether this is going to is cost neutral at the moment, but you know, had they called us and they needed us, we would have done the same. And that's what we do in a community. And I think pulling together in this way is really a credit to really to the kind of culture we have here on Rhode Island. Even though we're in different communities, we all feel like we're the same, and it really operated that way, because it never could be cost effective to staff up so heavily that you're ready for this kind of a circumstance with a majority of your employees in the fire department have to go out. So great response. Thank you both. I do want to you know, commend our 8 who remain and are going to pull them far more than their fair share. We really appreciate it, and thank you. And as you said, Andy, for those who've tested positive, we're thinking about you. We want to help any way we can. Please reach out if we can help in any way. The couple of questions I have, Chief, could you just comment briefly on the level of service we're going to be able to provide right now as we do this partnership that you've described for both rescue and fire support, how that will work, and if we have big call outs, are we going to then reach out to other communities, or we have enough as it is? How do you see that working going forward?
Right now, we're able to staff exactly as we would without this issue being present. If we lose more people, or if North Kingston loses a greater number of people and then we have to contract, we'll have to reallocate some resources. We have talked to the State Association of Firefighters and the Fire Chiefs Association throughout the state, and we can use other municipalities' firefighters off duty on an overtime basis to staff our station if we need to get to that. Hopefully we will not. That one will cost us the money. The unions have stepped up, the fire chiefs and the municipalities have stepped up to help us out, and hopefully we don't have to, but we can return the favor in the future.
Thank you. So just the short answer is that with this current arrangement in this partnership with North Kingstown, we'll be able to provide the same level of rescue and fire service that we have now without, it goes without saying that should there be further manpower reductions as a result of this on either side, that could change. But for the moment, as constituted, we can provide the same level of rescue and fire service.
Yes, we have, right now, we have North Kingston Engine 3 and North Kingston Rescue 3 running out of Station 2 in place of our Rescue 2 and Engine 2. Main Street, we are currently running Engine 1 and Rescue 1 as normal. Anything that goes into larger scale incidents will rely on a mutual aid system as we normally do.
Thank you. And then, Andy, I don't know what the propriety of this, how this should work, but, I'd like to have, maybe if we could send just a letter of thank you and appreciation from you or you and Mark going out from the council and the town manager to the fire chief and their council, just to let them know how much we appreciate them showing up when answering the call when we needed them. I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah, happy to, Mike, and happy to go far beyond that by the time we're done. I think it'll be well-deserved, and having partners that you can rely on when you need them is really invaluable. So the chief and I have been talking about that. We'll definitely circle back with the council and take all the appropriate steps that we need to thank our partners.
Thanks. A resolution or something, whatever's appropriate would be great. Thank you.
Councilor Cornthal.
Yes, pivoting again what Michael said, thank you so much, Chief and Andy, for your foresight and planning, and because it's obviously very abnormal time, very stressful. I can't even imagine how stressful it is for the first responders. So you, truthfully, we want to send appreciation. I have had several people from my development have asked me about helping with some food or something like that. I didn't know if that was something you were interested in, or we could, do something like that. Chief, if that would be helpful. I have people asking me what they could do, so maybe you have some thoughts on that.
Things like that are always welcome by our guys. They like to eat. But that would be wonderful if people would like to do that. That would be fine. It is not necessary. Our guys will be here through the holidays. We plan on being here. Some of us will be here through next week.
And where would be the best place to bring that? To bring anything?
Station 1 or Station 2. North Kingston guys are here too.
Okay,
right.
great. That will be done, I'm sure.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Chief Patnow, I apologize that I didn't introduce you initially. I didn't see you on the panelists. I think you came over as an attendee, so I wasn't sure you would be here because I heard you had a very long night last night. I think that you probably stayed up, what we used to call in medical school, pulling an all-nighter.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for participating in the meeting today. I do have a question for you, Chief, is relating to our dispatch. Does this stress on our system with the firefighters have any role in dispatch? Because I know the firefighters were also participating in the dispatch schedule.
They will be covering it as normal. So it'll just be one less person that would have time off during that period. We will cover the dispatch because we can't physically move it out on short notice to another area because of the equipment involved. And secondly, the equipment that is here, it's hard to bring in people, even though they have dispatch experience, they don't have experience with the equipment, the 40-year-old equipment that we have here. So it makes it a challenge, but our guys will continue to dispatch. We will be covered.
Excellent. The other question I had was you mentioned other resources. Resources to reach out to. We have firefighters from other departments that we could bring on to do overtime. Are there other statewide resources that are available should we need help in fire service, fire service practices?
Well, we have the Southern New England Mutual Aid System, which we are signatory, which provides people and services and equipment and different services during normal operations. Those are usually shorter terms, usually from an hour to a couple of days if it gets to that point. This is a little bit out of the norm, and that's why we're going with some new additions to the plan. But no matter what, the residents and our members will be kept safe.
Thank you. Obviously, this has been a very high-profile story, not only in our town, but around the state. And I think it's very important to make sure that the community is comfortable, that the council is well-informed, that the community is well-informed, that there is a good plan in place, and that public services for first responder, fire and rescue services will continue at their same high level. So again, as Councilor Donegan and Kornthal have mentioned, this is really a reflection of how well prepared our team has been. I know Andy, when he first came on, Andy Nada, when he first came on, began looking south and just rounding up partners to help us in a whole variety of areas, not just fire rescue, but issues that face many municipalities. Our chief has forged close relationship with other mutual aid partners, and it's really been a great team. I think today it was amazing from this morning when Mr. Nada gave me an early morning phone call until we did the meeting. It was all put together within just a few hours, and it's really a tribute to our information technology personnel, Wendy Schmidl, certainly our manager, Andy Nada, our police chief, our counselors. Immediately said, just tell me where to be and when to be there. Our solicitor did the same thing. And, you know, we really have a good plan and a good team. So I think at this point, this isn't a item of very high community interest. I can see by the number of participants. And I would give attendees an opportunity, if they do have a question, to raise their hand. We have, if you're on the Zoom platform, you can click on participant, and at the bottom you'll see a raise your hand button. If you're on a phone, you will dial *9 to raise your hand. I would remind you that we can only comment on this one issue, this emergency meeting.
Art, could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Andy, is there, I know that we have your delegated authority, emergency powers in this instance, and you've explained that what we're doing right now is really something that we do on a regular basis for individual callouts. Does this require, do you need us to take any action or to give input in? This is business as usual, right? And just on a larger scale, is that what this is? Do you need anything from us in this regard?
Not at this moment, Mike.
Okay.
But you know, should that come up, and I'm sure we could hypothesize some situations where your direct involvement would be necessary. I don't think it's there quite yet in communicating with the chief, but we'll definitely stay in close contact with the full council on whatever help we might need.
Yep.
Any comments from any of the attendees? I'm scrolling down the attendee list, and I see we have several of East Greenwich firefighters participating in the meeting. And thank you for what you're doing for the town. Please send best regards to your colleagues in the department. We also see Chief Scott Cattell from North Kingstown. When I first came on as a council member a couple of years ago, we didn't have a fire chief, and I relied on Captain Mears in our department, and Scott Cattell, Chief Cattell, to help me learn and get up to speed. And it's very much appreciated, Chief Cattell. So I don't see any hands raised. I think we've covered a good amount of information. So Andy, going forward, how are we going to communicate the status of the department and status of services over the next couple of weeks? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So we've got, unfortunately, today we have a lot of ways that we can communicate that information. So we'll clearly take advantage of all of the media resources that the town has available through our Facebook sites, through local East Greenwich News, through the Pendulum, through our own website and others. And I'll communicate, and so does the fire department and their membership. So we'll make sure that the chief and I periodically put together an update on services. If there's any substantive change, we'll make sure that we push that information out. And of course, I'll be in direct contact with you and the remaining members of the council. And as you noted, Mark, I think really just setting this forum just to ensure, make sure people are comfortable and that they understand what to expect from us in delivering services, that the chief and I will make sure that we get that information out to everyone.
Right. And the take home is that we're delivering the same fire and rescue services uninterrupted.
Yes.
At no extra cost.
Yes. Another important point. Thank you.
That's great. I just want to make sure with our solicitor that we have met all the provisions of the Open Meeting Act. That you feel that there's anything else that we need to document or read into the minutes?
No, I don't think so. I think you're fine.
Thank you again. Appreciate everybody's time and efforts. And I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
All right.
Mr.
Thank you,
Zarella,
Indy and Chief.
Have a
Really
nice
greatly
holiday,
appreciate
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Wear a mask.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
it. Thank you.
Right.
Everybody.
Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, be safe.
Could we just get a vote to adjourn, please?
I thought you don't need a vote to adjourn.
I
You don't
voted
need a
aye.
second, you need a vote.
You don't need a second. Okay. It's
All right,
unanimous.
let the record reflect that a majority of the hands have
Aye.
been raised to adjourn.
I can see my hand.
All right.
Right up.
Mike said yes too.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye. Be safe, everybody.
Good night.